We are live. Awesome. Well, thank you
Yay!
both for being here. I am super excited. For everyone watching, we'll get into it a lot in a minute. You'll notice neither of my guests today are Ryan. Neither of them are Ryan. Ryan had some family happiness going on this weekend, so he's taking the day off so we can do that. But I had two amazing friends join. But before we get to the friends, I just want to say hi, everyone. Thanks for being here for the Kessel Chat. I'm glad we're kind of getting back into a swing again, and it's a perfect weekend to do it because Star Wars Celebration is happening right now. Well, probably not right this minute. Everyone's in bed right now, or drinking or something. But they were earlier today for us in Pacific time, or in Eastern time here in the States. But so much got announced today, and that's what we're going to spend most of our time today talking about is what happened at Star Wars Celebration. All the announcements, specifically the Ahsoka trailer, because that's what we got to see on the live stream. They actually got a teaser for the Acolyte, and I think got a teaser for Skeleton Crew, which is, and hopefully we'll get that ourselves here soon too. But we got Ahsoka, which was amazing. So,
Oh yeah.
pause on that. TJ, you want to introduce yourself first?
Hi, I'm TJ. I go by Drop It Like It's Hoth or Hoth. I am a Star Wars mega nerd. Me and Jeff
I can attest to
do,
that.
yeah, me and Jeff do a reading every Thursday of like the High Republic books. I do a lot of like lightsaber spinning, so I'm really excited to be here and get to talk to Jeff on a different platform. That's cool.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm so stoked that you can be here. This is awesome. And Junaid, why don't you go next?
Hey everybody, my name is Junaid. It sounds like lemonade, and I've been talking to Jeff for over a year. I'm like, dude, when am I going to be here on the Kessel Chat? And it just so happened that the timings just aligned, like the universe aligned because Ahsoka trailer dropped, right? It just had to. Like it
Yes.
was the perfect timing, so I'm super excited. I'm a huge Star Wars nerd as well. Not as crazy as these two guys over here, but I'm pretty up there. Not too
Awesome.
bad.
Well, thank you so much both
Well,
for being here. I really appreciate
there's
it.
no measure either. You can be a little bit of fan or a big fan. It
Exactly.
doesn't matter. We're all fans.
I agree.
Fan
Yeah,
is a fan for sure, and I think that's what we love about doing this show in particular is that it's all about it's all about storytelling for us. Like that's what we spend.
Mhm.
There's so many great shows out there that talk about the lore and the pick apart the Easter eggs and stuff, and we can totally do that here too. But what we really want to spend our time on is the stories that we're getting to watch, how they affect us, why they're so cool, and just completely nerd out on that. So let's start off with. I know you both saw the Ahsoka trailer. TJ, what was your first thought?
Uh-oh.
What happened? Oh, that's all right. Well, she's coming back on. Junaid, what was your first thought of the trailer?
Okay, so I was, just started my day. I was like, turn on the browser, and I was checking on how my video did that I posted yesterday, and of course, I see the big trailer right in the middle. I was like, no way, it's dropped because we've been hearing about it come out, and I was like, I gotta watch this. So I full screen it, hit play, and I'm just holding on to my seat. I'm like, what's gonna happen? I'm just super excited for it. And towards the end, I was like almost teary because they're showing all these powerful women holding lightsabers. Like there's a huge, woman coming into this to this world and being featured. And I'm like totally blown away by how Disney and Star Wars are doing this. And then all of these guys are, amazing, amazing Jedis. And I'm like, oh my God, they're bringing back the Jedi.
I know.
And it's almost like it's a connection between what's the last one where the last big movie with Ray raised
Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And yeah.
Go ahead.
So I was like, it's a connection. It's a connect. They're like connecting all of those stories. I mean, and that's the idea, right? So I'm super excited to what's gonna be in there, and the story continues, right?
It totally does. It totally does. TJ, I'm glad you're back.
Sorry, I don't know what happened.
Sometimes the streaming gods are not quite with us, so that's totally fine.
Yeah,
Don't even worry about it. So, what'd you think?
I squealed audibly. I was like almost in tears. I got goosebumps. I was so excited. Like the opening with that like dual move with her like Clone Wars nod, I was
Oh,
like, I freaked out for sure.
yes.
Mhm.
I'm so excited just to see because we have seen so much of Ahsoka already with Clone Wars. It was like Clone Wars was Ahsoka's story essentially.
Yeah,
Like it
basically.
was her like character arc. So I'm excited to see. I know that they're gonna do something amazing with this. Like I just feel it. Like I don't know. That sounds so lame, but like I just feel like
No.
they're gonna do something so cool with this.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I same thing. I had just sat down. Just happenstance. I sat down to watch the trailer. I'm like, I was like sitting on the couch, and I'm like, oh yeah, celebration's going on. And one of the first things that popped up for me was Ahsoka trailer. I'm like telling my little dude, I'm like, hey, just shh, for just give me daddy a second. And before I did that, Junaid, you text me, and you're like,
Yeah.
Ahsoka in tears, and I'm like, well, crap. Okay, now I gotta watch this. Oh
That's
my
the
gosh.
best part too. Like it's like I saw it on Instagram first, and I instantly like
Mhm.
scrolled away because me and Paul always my husband watched them together.
Hmm.
So I was laying in bed in the morning, and I was like, "Oh no, I gotta get out of bed!" I ran downstairs, like, "Oh, we gotta stop everything. Ahsoka's on."
Right? Oh my
Oh
gosh,
God.
so I watched it like 3 times on my phone, and it's funny because it didn't hit me that hard. Like, oh, this is really cool. I'm
Mhm.
super excited. But I was busy getting my son ready for for spring break daycare stuff. And when I finally came out here to the shed to start doing some work and prep for the show today, I pulled it up to watch it, and that's when I was like, oh, there's all the feels, like
Mhm.
all the like tinglies and like getting all nervous and stuff. I'm like, okay, there it is, there it is.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it was such a good portrayal of Ahsoka, and I loved seeing all of the Rebels crew. And
Mhm.
I think DJ's her computer's struggling a little bit, so she'll come back in a minute. Um, and maybe I'll just remove her video so she doesn't feel like her video's just sitting there when she's not on. But yeah, it made me feel like everything you had said before. It made me feel like we're getting we're getting to see an actual evolution of the character. Like you said, we saw the Clone Wars, then we saw her, then we saw her again in
The
Rebels.
Mandalorian.
Oh yeah, in
Oh
Rebels,
yeah,
and then
that
the
right.
Mandalorian.
Rebels first, and then
Yeah,
Mandalorian. Yeah, yeah,
and we've been getting this really cool through line of her in all of these different stories, and
yeah.
I like that even though they are still in the Skywalker era, that we can get new stories that don't
Mhm.
have anything really to do with the Skywalkers. And I
Yeah.
mean, I don't have anything against those stories at all, but
No, none at all.
we've just done it so much that it's nice to see, even in the same world, so to speak, same time period,
Mhm.
we can continue to get new and fresh stories out of it.
Yeah. And it's almost like it's like a parallel universe because think about it this way, right? You had your entire life that we didn't meet till we
Mhm.
did. And you like all those stories I haven't heard, but they're going so essentially that's what's happening. Like that's real life, right?
Right.
Things are happening. It's a galaxy wide event, whatever
Hmm.
happened. You know, the 66, like they talk about it in Bad Batch, you know, the 66, the Order 66 or whatever.
Right.
And like it's just mind blowing.
It really is. The
Did you guys already talk about the ending of Bad Batch?
No, we haven't.
Okay. All
Actually,
right.
take it back. No, we did a stream and we talked a bit about the ending. But if you got something, dude,
Okay.
throw it out. Throw it out.
Yeah, that was like towards the end when we see she's like, I'm interesting that you would want to go hang out with them and not me. Why is that? And she's like, well, they're my brothers. And then she takes off her glasses and she's like, well, I'm your sister. I'm like, what? That
Oh
just
yeah.
totally blew my mind. I was like, wait, how crazy is that? And then and what's really funny is that we had no idea. I don't even remember the character name um, from the clone people. See, I'm really bad at names.
Um.
But the really tall girl who did all the experiments, she
Oh.
created all the clones.
Lhasa Sue or something. I can't remember her
Yeah,
name.
Last
Yeah,
Zoo.
I'm
Yeah,
really
yeah,
bad at the names too.
yeah. But that was cool.
Yeah,
That was really cool.
I really appreciate it, and it looks like TJ may be having something's going on her laptop that is causing her to freeze every time she gets connected in. So we'll just run
Maybe
with it
she
for
needs to bring it on the iPhone. Like,
Oh,
just
I'll tell her to do that. Try that. Let me message her real quick. Sorry, everyone. Let's message her real quick and ask her to try join in on her iPhone. See, sometimes you just when you're doing live, that's one of the things you have to do. Is you just have to pivot sometimes, and it's okay.
You just gotta pivot, man. That's the game.
Yeah, I loved switching over to the Bad Batch for a second. I loved that. It actually took me a little while for the "I'm your sister" thing to land. Like for me, I had to kind of walk away going, "Wait, what now?" Like it took me. The thing that already hit me really hard was Mount Tantus. Was the mountain that they're on the planet that they're on, because that is and the cloning technology they're playing with there, because that's exactly what happens in the original Heir to the Empire series or the trilogy that Timothy Zahn wrote back in the 90s, early 90s, that originally introduced us to the character of Thrawn. And so and the character at that time called Joruus C'baoth, I think was his name. I'm thinking Master C'baoth was a Jedi Master, but it turned out to be a clone of a Jedi Master who had kind of gone, and I should just put that up there. Spoilers for everybody. We're in spoiler territory now. So if you haven't read these things or seen these things, we're in spoiler territory at this point. Just fair warning. It was really cool to see that sort of almost matte painting look when the shuttles and stuff fly in to the mountain, because it reminded me, at least, so much of these books and things like that I'd read way back when.
Yeah.
All right, I think TJ is back, so let's try to bring her in. There she is.
Oh my gosh, it's so zoomed in on my phone. I don't know what's happening.
No, you're totally fine. You're totally fine. We just got a little shaky cam action going on, but that's okay.
Yeah, sorry. I was just trying to set up this. I did
good.
my best. I'm just trying to really disrupt the scene.
You know, you're just nailing it, so that's okay. I'm kidding. When you are ready, so we had switched over to the Bad Batch. Junaid had asked a question about covering the Bad Batch, but to switch back to Ahsoka for a second for you, what we were talking about is how cool it is to see a through line that is still in the Skywalker era, but doesn't involve a Skywalker, involves somebody else, and that we get to see we can still get new stories at the same time period. And I'm just super curious how that sort of thing resonated for you, TJ.
Well, especially with Thrawn and all these big characters that were more in the books in Clone Wars, so it's a little more EU, but not EU for a lot of us. So it's it's so exciting to get, I have nothing wrong with the Skywalker, whole thing, but it is refreshing to see something new and something, even though Ahsoka isn't really new, it's a new perspective on her.
Yeah, I love that a lot. It reminds me, hopefully for anybody who's been consuming Star Wars for a long time, or new people to the galaxy, that they can feel like there are fresh new stories that are still being told. And as much as you and I, TJ, we love the High Republic. As much as we love the High Republic, you don't have to dip into that era if you don't want to still get something new that you haven't seen before, which I really love about what we're going to see in this show. And I've got a little guest joining.
I was there's light coming in.
So question for both of you. In the trailer, if there was one just to start with, almost like lightning round, if there's one thing to start with that just completely stood out to you, that there was the one thing that you remember about the trailer, what would it be? Junaid, you go first. On the spot.
Well, I know it's on the spot. What I loved about what really stood out was how close to the actual character from the animated that they made in the real life. And I know we've seen her in Mandalorian and others, but I love how accurate it is to the animation.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I'm totally blown away. I love that they pick Rosario Dawson for the character also, because she's such a huge nerd herself, and I've been following her through all of her film acting also, so that was pretty fun.
TJ, how about you? One thing that stood out for you, one thing that was the thing that you just remember consistently about the trailer. Well, if you could pick one, what would it be? Oh, we might have lost her again. That's okay. I'll go real quick, and if she comes back, that will be fantastic. the one that stood out for me was, um, it's probably too obvious, was the allusion to Thrawn that was actually confirmed earlier today on, was confirmed earlier today, or not earlier today, in the day one sessions
Hmm.
at Star Wars Celebration. I was watching the live stream earlier. It's in the stream. The day has already ended, but I was watching the stream from earlier, and in it, when the hosts are up, one of the hosts comes and says, "I'm just gonna say it was Thrawn." And I was like, "Oh no, you name dropped!" And confirmed. So I posted a TikTok saying, "Confirmed, it is Thrawn." And I mean, if it wasn't obvious already, that we kind of knew that was who it was going to be. But
So tell me a little bit, who is Thrawn? Because I didn't follow any of that thread, and maybe he was in the Bad Batch, maybe he was in some other place, but who is
got it.
Thrawn?
Okay, so we'll take a step back, and I apologize, everyone. I don't know what's happened. TJ unfortunately has been dealing with some tech issues on her side. It just keeps dropping her. So we're gonna roll forward, and we'll try to figure out. We'll figure that out another time, but that's okay. We roll with the punches. It's okay. So back in the day, I'm gonna move the cameras around a little bit so it's easier for people to watch on the stream. We'll go like that. Back in the day, or in the early '90s, we were introduced to a character named Thrawn. All we knew him was by his name, Thrawn. Timothy Zahn created the character. He showed up in the Heir to the Empire series. I don't remember the years, but early '90s. And his character was a Grand Admiral in the Imperial Navy. And so the reason why he stood out, other than the fact that he was an alien, so he's blue-skinned, he was a Chiss, which is, in the Empire, they're very xenophobic, so there's not really anything other than humans. Men primarily. There are lots of women, but they're mostly men. And they were highly xenophobic, so not a lot of aliens. He was the only one in the Imperial Navy, or one of very, very few. And he rose to prominence and became a Grand Admiral. So you could become an admiral in the Navy, and there was like 6 Grand Admirals. We didn't actually learn that number until very, very recently in one of the more current trilogies. That wasn't really addressed in the original one, but he was known as Grand Admiral Thrawn. That's all he was called. Blue skin, red eyes, and had a very like calm, cool demeanor. But everything he did, even if it was something he was going to do to like not torture somebody, but like bombard a planet with missiles, he did it in a very calm way and gave us. So he felt like a villain. He felt like a true villain, and he gained cult fame as a result of that. Fast forward many decades, obviously, to probably 5 years ago, give or take. Timothy Zahn came back and reprised his role in writing a more current series about Thrawn. So it takes place primarily in the more current era that we are aware of. It's now part of Disney, so it's actually official canon, all that type of stuff. And we actually meet Thrawn when he first gets noticed by the Empire, like abandoned on a planet. Again, sorry everyone, I'll do that just so everyone remembers. Spoilers. He's abandoned on a planet. Empire finds him. He works his way up from literally not being part of the Navy to becoming a Grand Admiral. And there's a trilogy about that development and that storyline. And then a second trilogy that he created that actually is before that one takes place in the unknown regions of space where the Chiss ascendancy actually is, as people are. And it's what happened there to get him kicked out, to be kind of exiled on a planet where the Empire could find him. And so we learned all of this background of who he is and his motivations and all of this. So to see him, it was obviously, he was in Star Wars Rebels, and then he would disappear with Ezra Bridger, and then it has been alluded to for a while, or rumored, that he would be the main antagonist, potentially, in this series. What I found interesting is 2 things, a lot of things, but 2 things stuck out for me. One of them is, we see what looks like Sith, or a couple dark side users, and it looked like their lightsabers are red, but it was hard to tell if they were red or more like a dark orange, because they weren't as red as they've made like Darth Vader's lightsabers to be in the trailer, which that stuck out to me, that like I feel like that means something. But then they show in one scene Thrawn walking away from the camera. All you see is the back of his head, and you see some blue skin, and you're like, okay, that must be Grand Admiral Thrawn. And then Ahsoka at one point says there's rumors of Thrawn coming back, as you know, and it clearly a cutscene, as heir to the Empire, a reference to the original trilogy of books, or series of books. What I find so interesting about that is trailers always give you creative play to make you, to try to tease you into something that may or may not really be happening that way. And so everybody I've seen online has been talking about that line of heir to the Empire. And I'm really hoping that that's not the through line they tug on, because so much of
Mm.
what we learned of Thrawn in these books that they produced is that he's not evil. He does things all for his people. He's doing what he needs to do, but he's not a binary character where he's either good or bad, because no character is good or bad. That's not real.
Yeah.
Nothing is
Yeah.
binary in this world. And so in the story, I really hope that's not the path they take. I hope it's something different than that, because that would just feel too much like a trope to me. I don't know. That's kind of how I took it.
So what you're saying is Ron was in Rebels?
Yes. Yes,
Okay,
he
because
was.
I'm gonna have to go back and see it because I remember watching it a couple years ago, Rebels. So it's not very fresh, but because all of this
Mhm.
new content that we've been,
There's so much. I know. There's a lot of new
digesting.
content.
There's so much. Oh my god! So I'm gonna have to go back and watch some Rebels
It was good.
animation. Ooh,
It was the last. The last couple of seasons, or really the last seasons, where Thrawn played a prominent role as kind of the main
okay.
antagonist against the rebels, the main crew that we're following in that. And the show, spoilers again, the show ends with something that culminates with um, like Thrawn not being there anymore, and the character of Ezra Bridger not being around anymore. That's all we know. There's no allusion to them dying. It's just
Yeah.
they're not in the story anymore. And then there's like a
Right.
jump cut to a future state where
Mm.
Ahsoka comes back, finds Sabine, who's in the Ahsoka show, and they go off looking for Ezra. At this point, we don't know how much time has actually passed between the end of Rebels and the start of the Ahsoka show, but it picks up. The idea is that some of this is picking up after Rebels and
Mm.
continuing some part of that story, at least what we're
Yeah.
being told.
Dude, there's another spoiler. I mean, it's not a spoiler, but that red haired girl or the pink haired girl, that's Sabine.
No, it's not.
Duh.
So there's two
That's not
people.
Sabine. Okay.
Well, if you go back and watch,
Okay.
there's one person you see. She's sitting in a room looking at kind of. It's a real quick cut. She's got like hair that's longer than her shoulders, and she's looking at a helmet sitting there, and then it cuts to a
Mhm.
Loth cat next to her. That's Sabine. And it cuts to her a minute later where
Oh,
she's sitting
that's
there, and she has
Sabine.
like
That's right. The love
hair
cat.
past her shoulders, and it's like multicolored, like purple and pink and very bright.
Yeah,
And she
yeah,
just kind of sits there and looks. And
yeah.
there's one scene where she says something to Ahsoka, and Ahsoka makes a comment back to her. But yes, cutting over to a different a scene where a woman
Mm.
walks into a room and an Imperial officer fires at her, and she pulls out her lightsaber. She has like pink hair. That's somebody different.
Yeah.
I don't know who that is.
Okay. That's somebody else. Okay.
Yeah, and
I'm
then
gonna
we
have to go
see.
watch it again. I mean, clearly I just watched it one time.
No, I mean it's not clear. Like all the stuff in it happens so quickly that it's easy to like pay
It's
attention
really
to
good.
certain
Yeah.
things and not pay attention to others. I had to watch it
Yeah,
4 or
yeah, yeah.
5 times to even, and I'm sure I don't remember more than half of it. Um, but I'm curious,
I love it.
what are your total thoughts about the idea of not just this show, but what it's kind of leading into for Star Wars? Whether you have been a Star Wars fan for a long time, or you're just kind of either a casual fan or someone who's just kind of getting into the idea of watching these things.
So I've started watching Star Wars a lot later, like actually around when the second trilogy came out, because I grew up in a different country, right? So in the 70s, I wasn't in the States. I was, I was in Pakistan or Saudi Arabia. So when I moved here in 95, that's when I started getting into Star Wars. Like, oh my God, this is a whole new universe. And I started watching this stuff and I started really getting into it. So I've seen every single thing that they put out um, before before everything was available on Disney,
Mm-hmm.
Disney Plus. And then since they've added new stuff on Disney Plus, I've been watching and keeping apprised of it. I'm like, okay, this is really awesome. What I'm loving is where they're taking the whole story with bringing the Jedi back, because clearly Disney knows people love the lightsabers. I mean, every time you visit Disney or Star Wars, you're getting a new lightsaber from there, right? I'm like, I'm gonna put this here, put this here. So there's a huge cult following. It's not even cult, it's more like it's popular culture now. So that's really awesome. And I'm just loving where this whole thing is going, and super excited to see how the story unfolds. And like my kids are all over this, like my daughter, who was 3 years old when Mandalorian came out, and everybody's in love with Grogu, like little guy over there, because
Yeah.
it's a little toy, right? So they resonate with that,
Mm-hmm.
and every time they're like, okay, oh Baba, can we watch Mandalorian? Because they love the music, they love all the armor, the helmet, like everything is just amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to share my screen here real quick. Let me just remove this other video thing so it's not super distracting for everybody. I just wanted to share a couple of the images that are out there from the release of the trailer, so everyone who didn't get a chance to watch it will just kind of hint on these. And I'm going to flash this a bunch of times just for everyone to know. But and also, I just really love hearing that sound. Lots of spoilers, lots of spoilers. So on the screen, you can see right here on the right, the Nerdist posted this picture. So there on the left, that is Sabine Wren. So she is a Mandalorian, and right here she's seen without her helmet on, but she's very known for her colorful art and all that stuff. And then on the right is Hera Syndulla, who was the captain of the Ghost, which was the ship that Hera and Sabine and Zeb and the crew all participated in Rebels. So it's really cool to see. We even get to hear Hera talk in this trailer, which was really rad. Here's the image of Thrawn. So we only see him walk for a moment or two, away from the camera, but it's pretty clear, I think, to everyone that this is actually Thrawn, and it was confirmed during Celebration that that's actually who that is. But we don't see his face, and which means we're not confirmed yet which actor is playing Thrawn. And what's so interesting is the actor that people are hoping for and has been rumored for a bit, but this person's not talking about it, is the actor who actually did the voice of Thrawn for Rebels. And actually, I think did it for the books too. And I'm trying. I don't remember his name, but he's. People would. Let me see if I can find his image.
That would be pretty cool. I mean, you get to, because people remember the voice,
right?
And then they can connect, just like that. And I think they are gonna pick the same character. Here's how I know why. Jarvis, anyone?
Oh, right. Yes.
Right. Use the same
Yes.
actor. I mean, 10 years in the going,
And
he's like, I'm Jarvis, and now I'm Vision.
Here it is. So this is Lars Mikkelsen is the person who played, who did the voice of Thrawn in Rebels, and I'm not 100% certain, but I feel like even in the Mark Thompson books, I think Lars may have actually done some of the voice work for Thrawn in the Mark Thompson. So in the audio versions of the Timothy Zahn books, Mark Thompson reads those books, and I love his audio work. I'm not positive. Maybe someone in the chat can definitely correct me here, but I thought that I saw that Lars had actually done some work for that show in or for those audiobooks. But if that happens, it would be so cool. I had to look him up by The Witcher because I couldn't remember.
Yeah.
He played a wizard in the Witcher TV series. It is, I don't know. It's just really cool. I really hope that they use his voice. I really hope that they use his voice because it, like you said, it's these through lines, these connection points that even if someone doesn't know who he is, they would hear the sound and it would draw a subconscious connection to the content they've already seen and be like, oh my gosh, wait, is this actually the same person? Like you carried the person from animated to like that would be so cool. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, we will have to wait and see. I mean, they kind of did the same thing for again, I'm forgetting the name of the character who was like, no, you will, like the guy who helped Mandalorian, he fixed the droid. What's that guy name? He was basically they animated his face with animatronics. His voice was this actor from, he played the dad for Hulk in the first ever Hulk.
Oh my gosh, I do not remember.
I know. So many different
so many different actors. I can't. See, this is
three
also
different actors.
It's also one of the reasons why Ryan and I originally didn't want to do a show that was focused on lore in Star Wars, because I can't remember names. Like I'm terrible with names, so it's like it's easier to talk about story elements than it is to talk about anything else because I can't keep up.
I agree. I can't keep up either.
Cannot keep up.
This is so much fun.
It is. So Ahsoka, there are so many different story arcs I saw in that, and something I'm loving about it is that we really get to see, like you said, we get to see sort of a rebuilding of the Jedi, or we get to see that the Jedi are not done, and the Jedi
Mm-hmm.
stories are not done. And I think even more to the point, even though Order 66 happened, we keep hearing Ahsoka and others saying, "There's not many of us left." She uses, and others use phrasing sort of like that, because and what it makes me feel good about is that Order 66 didn't actually get all the Jedi. Vader thought he got everybody, did the best he could, but some just hit it really, really well. And a good example of that is in Jedi Fallen Order in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Not Trilla. What was her name? I'm blanking on the name on the ship, who becomes sort of like a mentor to Cal Kestis. She is a Jedi, but she cuts herself off from the Force, and they never find her.
Oh wow.
Yeah, they don't ever actually find her. Vader doesn't find her until she kind of like becomes. They of course make a name for themselves, but it gives me hope that there are
Mm-hmm.
actually scattered either Jedi or people who part of the Order walked away or doing their own thing that might still be out
Yeah.
there that can kind of come back. But like Luke said in The Last Jedi, the Jedi need to end. I actually really agree with that idea that the Jedi in their previous form need to stop. Like they fell
Yes,
from
it's,
grace. Like if it's
they
going to
need
be
they need a cleaning. There's
agreed. Yeah, and one of the
mm-hmm.
announcements that came out today, or I think it was like one of the first panels. It was not live streamed. It was one of the first panels that happened. They officially announced that Daisy Ridley has signed on to do a new trilogy that takes place
Wow.
15 years after the Rise of Skywalker. That is all about her, and she is creating a new Jedi Order. So the
There
First
you
Order
go.
is gone. Palpatine is gone. It's beyond all of those stories. She's coming back to reprise her role as Rey Skywalker and to create a new Jedi Order. And we'll have to see what that looks like. And I love that because
Wow.
it gets us beyond that
Dude,
trilogy.
you've given me a lot to think about because I do have to run. My wife's like calling me. We gotta go for dinner.
Oh, yeah,
But
no
this
worries.
was so much fun, man. Oh my
I'm glad
God.
you could be here.
This was amazing.
I'm glad you could be here, buddy. Thank you so much for being here. And everyone watching, thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate it. We'll be back next Friday, just like usual. We'll catch you then. Hopefully, we can get
Love
TJ
it.
and Ryan and Junaid have you back again, too. But have a wonderful
Oh my
weekend,
God, that'd be
everybody.
so much fun.
Enjoy the streams for Star Wars Celebration, and we will see you soon. Take it easy.
Bye.